Hello and welcome back to the Becoming Relentless podcast. I am your host, Noa McCabe, and I am joined by my lovely co-host,
Danielle Kissenberger.
Oh,
Coach D.
Coach D. I think before we get started, I just want to preface and apologize in advance for anything that my voice does because I don't know if it's going to crack or go out or squeak. We have no idea.
It's cold weather.
Cold weather. It's very cold here in Texas. It's like 25 degrees. And I don't want to say I've been like battling a sickness because I don't physically feel
It's been 4 weeks ongoing to 5 and 6 because I feel like January is like once February hits, it's going to be the cutoff. That's like I'm telling my body like February, it's a deadline.
We need to be
get
healed.
It together. Yeah.
We need to be good. Yeah. Our voices have just been battling something, but we're almost healed. So we'll just say it like that.
Cough drops aren't helping.
The cough drops are not helping. Meds haven't helped. I tried meds. I tried over-the-counter stuff. I tried cough drops.
Whenever I take certain meds, it's usually Mucinex, whatever it is. I don't know if it's because I was actually really sick or I took it and I was like weird. It wasn't drowsy, but I was like, it felt like I was on like drugs. Like I was like just not here.
You were like sitting there just like, all right, this Mucinex be hitting.
Look around like, wait a sec, what's going on? Yeah, that's funny. Well, it could have been just because you're so sick that you're out of it. That happened to me both times. I think I got the flu in December when we got back.
Yeah.
And my body was like, dude, you're eating like trash post-show. Like, come on. Like, we don't know how to handle any of this. And then I was healed. And then I went to Christmas. And on Christmas Day, I got sick again. And I think I got the flu again. I know for a fact I had the flu the second time. But it was the same symptoms. And then I also was eating a lot of like sugar from Christmas. So I realized like, I think, I truthfully believe that a lot of it is from just eating so much sugar.
I think I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Because I had the chocolate cake from J Prime and then I felt really bad the next day, like just all in my throat. Like, I think the sugar's like,
well, it's not helping us and it's cold and your body's already like, your immune system's like, okay, we got to deal with this change of weather. And you're like, sugar.
I'm like, this will help.
Yeah, eventually. And then it won't.
Yeah, I do think there's something to that. So yeah. I agree. I feel like going into this week, my intention is very much to like eat well.
Exactly how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, dude, you know what I'm on a kick on? Poke.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
And it makes you feel good too.
It's basically like deconstructed sushi. Like it's so good.
Yeah. And you can make it at home if you want in, except I'm really weary on the fish aspects.
I've never eaten raw fish at home.
I know. And I was asking Faith and Austin, Coach Austin, because they obviously cook so well. I was like, so where do they get this fish from?
Yeah.
And they're like, go to one of the fish markets or like.
Yeah, I feel like you don't want to do that with like AGB fish, like Kroger fish.
And it probably won't taste the same. It'll probably taste very
like.
Nip. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like not good. Oh, that's interesting. I've never made poke at home.
I know.
Are you going to try it? Have you tried it?
Well, so a couple weeks ago, a little off track, but a couple weeks ago, I was in my apartment and I was looking at my phone case and I realized like, put my credit card at the back of my phone case. Don't worry, I got a purse in the meantime. Like I bought one after the fact because I was looking at my phone case. There's my phone, like my credit card in there. So I peeled it apart and during this time it was working. I don't know where I put my credit card. It's somewhere in the house because I saw it. I literally saw it from my eyes, but I can't find it. So I lost the credit card. Point of the story was I haven't been able to buy groceries from like certain places because I don't have a credit card and they don't take Apple Pay.
Oh. So where have you been shopping?
Apple Pay, Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, and your local restaurants.
ATX's local restaurants.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I mean, Apple Pay is a great thing.
We love Apple Pay.
Your iPhone
I always try to Apple Pay, but yeah, HEB definitely does not do Apple Pay.
The amount of times I've been up there and I like fill up my cart, I'm in the checkout, I'm like ready, and they're like, no.
At that point, I'd look at someone in line. I'd be like, yo, I'll Venmo you. Can I borrow your card?
Yeah. Back so.
Dang. That's unfortunate. I hope that you find it soon.
Well, I ordered a new one.
Okay, so it's in the
So
it's like coming.
at this point, if I find it, I think that one's frozen anyways because I froze it.
Yeah, it's like locked in. Yeah. Dang. Oh. Well, this week's gonna be different.
Yeah.
We're gonna.
I mean, I'm thriving. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Just the little things, like those little things of like, oh.
Oh no, not the coughs. Suppress.
Suppress. I'll talk louder as you cough.
I know. I've been really good at suppressing it. After we get off the pod, in the car, I have to let it all out.
You yak.
Yeah.
So
basically,
I've never ever heard that term. Actually, I have. Take that back. I've heard that term. But the time it was used was New Year's. And I was at the table with y'all, with Eric and Bailey. We were all eating dinner at Sage. And I had to cough so bad. Like so bad to the point where like I can't say a word right now because I'm suppressing.
Yeah.
And it's my turn to speak, and I look at Eric, and he's like, something like go yak in the bathroom.
He did, yeah.
I've never even heard of someone like going to yak.
He's like, you gotta go yak in the bathroom, and you're like, you took off.
I was like, I gotta cough. Yeah, that was funny.
That is funny. I feel like I used to say yak as in like throw up, but I feel like yak makes sense with coughing as well.
Dude, I see yak as throw up too.
Mm-hmm. You get to that point, you're coughing so hard, things do start like your lung feels like it's coming up. You're like, no.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, basically everybody, if you can relate, just comment yak.
Yeah. Random post, yakker.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine?
On today's podcast, we were talking about birth control.
Birth control.
Not yakking.
Not yakking. Although we've talked about this, we've filmed and recorded a birth control podcast at least 3 times. Like this is either the 3rd or the 4th time.
The first 3 times or 2 times, we filmed it in Justin's second bedroom, fake studio,
like media room.
Yeah, that
which
never
is
really
actually
got
super
built.
dope. Yeah,
but it gets dope. It's just like never like finished.
Yeah,
but then like the camera, the first time wasn't on, right?
Yeah.
So that was
I think the camera turned off.
Like there was no way of saving that. Yeah. Like there was nothing. It was like
we just sat here talking with the camera pointed at us, not recording.
Yeah.
So that was great.
The second time it did record, but then like every 5 minutes it cuts off the video and it makes it into a separate video. So talk about a 60-minute long podcast every 5 minutes, you have to piece it together.
Yeah.
Hashtag nope.
Yeah, I feel like that would just be a lot.
So we're back here.
So we're here. We're going to do birth control here in the studio, talk about it. And I do feel like it is a bit of a I don't want to say controversial because I don't think that it should be, but I do think that people feel very strongly like one way or another. So mostly our goal with this podcast is not to sway you one way or another, but more so just to give you the education.
Yeah.
Because we're always saying like an empowered athlete and an educated athlete is an empowered athlete. You could say the other way too. An empowered athlete is educated.
What are you going to say next?
Yeah. Switch it around. But I feel like we both operate that way. Like we love answering questions. We love educating. And there's a time like last year, especially where a lot of our athletes too were like coming off of birth control just by their own choice. And so I know for me, like writing up little protocols, making sure that we're supporting their body through that phase was really prominent. And a lot of them didn't even realize like a lot of the side effects from birth control. Mm-hmm. So I think that's kind of what originally inspired us.
Yeah. And now we've both been on it.
Mm-hmm.
Different types though.
Yeah. I've had an IUD and I've been on the pill, but I would say I had the IUD for a longer period of time because I was on the pill right after high school going into college. And then I switched because I kept forgetting to take the pills like consistently. And they're always like, it has to be consistent to work. So I was like, I'll just get an IUD.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if it's a little chip thing, right?
Yeah. It almost looks like a paper clip that's like been bended into a T shape, but it's plastic. Like it's not not metal.
That's like a tracker. You're putting a tracker in my
T for tracker.
Yeah. But that's just because I don't like blood.
Yeah.
I was on the pill though. I was on the pill from, I would say 15 to 17, 18.
Yeah.
Might have been 14.
Oh, wow.
No, I was 15.
15.
No, we're not going to that low. It was 15.
When you went to, do you remember like going to the doctor? Did they talk you through like the side effects, or were they more so just like, here's your prescription?
So I was young. My mom was with me.
Mhm.
The reason for it was like, dude, okay, first of all, let me back up. If I could meet 15-year-old Danielle right now and be like, you're sexually active at 15? Honey, go back inside.
Go home.
No. Who in the, but that's so normal these days. If you ask the majority of people, not people, I feel like
Yeah.
our generation and the, well, our 15-year-olds, our generation, whatever, a lot of them are already sexually active. It's like, what?
Very young.
And I don't
Yeah.
think, okay, so not this is an excuse, but the guy I was dating was 3 years older than me. So of course he's like already in it. Like I believe that most people, or yeah, honestly, people that are sexually active that young probably are active with older people, not necessarily their age group. Because honestly, like
I
being
can
a
see that.
15-year-old kid, like 15 and 15, like I'd be like, dude, let's just go to the mall. Like,
let's go to Sephora.
Yeah.
Let's like go do some things.
and but this is kind of off topic, but I remember when I was that young, like I didn't care about sex at all. But it was more so like the pressure of,
Almost
the guy that my first love that it wasn't really love, like your first like fantasy wants to pursue that. And
Yeah.
he does. He's 19, he's a male, and he's like going through puberty, and he's like
And
trying to be the baddie, like,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Anyways, went to the doctor with my mom and we sat down. Sweet doctor, sweet lady. It was just more so, here's the reason. Like, she asked the questions. I didn't know what to ask. Of course, I didn't know what to ask. You're not educated on what to ask when you're going into birth
Yeah.
control, which is why we're here. I wasn't educated on the post effects. I wasn't educated on a lot of the negative effects. It wasn't like you have to get on birth control. It's going to heal you. It's going to be the best thing ever. It wasn't like a cheering of like, you have to, but it was not widely educated on with it from the doctor to me or my mom.
Yeah.
Post birth control is, so I got, I had cysts. Okay, this is a little nasty, but this is very common. After I got off birth control, I got cysts on my ovaries. And I was also going through an eating disorder during this time. So when you're getting off birth control, you really need to eat a healthy amount of fats. Honestly, a healthy amount of food in general.
Yeah.
But fats for sure, because fats are going to help with your hormones the most, other than carbs and protein, right? So, of course, I was in a eating disorder. There's not many fats going in. So I got cysts on my ovaries, and because of that, they wanted to put me on a progesterone pill. And of course, I was like, okay, like whatever you say.
Yeah, like you don't know any better.
Yeah. And so I did that for a while, and I never went back in. I just assumed that it worked.
So you just like finished the pills and was just like, okay, cool, I'm good.
Yeah. And I just never went. But that was 17 going into 18. And of course, like, I never went back to the doctor since. I went back for like sickness, but not for anything. Like, I've never seen her.
Yeah. Interesting. So it's been like 3 years. Do you feel like, so the most common thing that I see is like the 6 months post getting off.
3 years since I was that young, bro. That's like yesterday.
Wait, right? 18, 19, 20. Yeah.
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 That's
crazy.
Oh, I'm about to be 22 though. That's a little scat. Okay, anyways.
22 is a good number. It's a great number.
22. Is that the song?
Mm-hmm. Taylor Swift's You're Feeling 22.
Yeah.
We'll blast that on your birthday. I guess like the most common thing that I've seen or that I've heard was like the 6 months post birth control is where you actually start to see a lot of the symptoms. So like after you got off the birth control, was there a little bit of time and then you realized that you had cysts and then they put you on the progesterone pill? Like, do you think that there was like a time frame in between?
So I know I went in because I wasn't having a period. And also, I believe, I want to say that my mom was also just concerned after you stop like a certain pill or medicine you've been taking for so long, like, what are the next steps?
Yeah.
But I wasn't having a period at all. And I want to say, so on the pill, I had a lot of, well, looking back, they might have been like depressive. I don't want to say episodes, just more in a depressive state.
Mm-hmm.
When you're 15, you don't know, you're just sad.
Yeah.
So I remember being on the pill, I was just more irritable. Like when you're on your cycle and like things annoy you a little faster.
Yeah.
A little sadder, like got a little madder faster. My mom and I would fight a lot more during that time. And I do, like, during that age, you're going to fight with,
Oh, yeah.
your mom. But man, I was a little sassy. Like, if I saw, like, honey, like, again, sit down, So I don't want to say it's not all on the pill for that regard, but it doesn't help if you're already irritable and, you're going through these changes. You're in a state of puberty and you're telling your body no.
Yeah.
But that's your natural state, So especially during that time frame, I think it's vastly different, I believe. If you are 30 going on birth control versus 15, your body's already been through puberty. Like, you're developed. 15, you're saying, hold up. And it's like we're ready now.
Right.
Like, that's going to play a lot of parts. And it's also, birth control does control your hormones, right? So of course, like, you're going to have something that's off. And I think for a lot of people, they probably do have cysts on the ovaries. So they just don't know, because I think it's very common.
I have a friend who had that happen as well. She was on the pill. It didn't really work. Like, she had a lot of symptoms. And in that regard, like, I think it's important to note that birth control, when it was designed, it was when they trialed it. So when it was being made, like, chemically, they were making the chemicals, they're designing the pill. The trials that they did with women, they excluded anyone who had any, like, potential imbalance, any issues. So the pill is really designed for healthy individuals. So, like, if you think about it, like, when you're 15, you're still developing, you're going through puberty, your hormones are they're already in flux in a different way, and a lot of systems within your body are still developing. It's not that you're not healthy, but there's a lot of changes occurring, and the pill was really designed for somebody who's, like, optimally healthy. So if you have any, like, that even goes for those of us in our, like, 20s and 30s, if you have any underlying issues, so let's say you're in your 20s and you have acne, or you have really painful, heavy, horrible periods, those are symptoms of, like, a deeper issue of, like, a hormone imbalance or something that needs to be addressed. And if you try to go on the pill to cover that up, it'll work because it just stops.
It's a Band-Aid.
Yes, it's a Band-Aid. It's not necessarily addressing the root cause. And as soon as you come off that birth control, or you choose to come off of it, those symptoms are likely to come back way worse. Like, if you had acne before, you take the pill, the acne disappears. If you stop the pill or you stop birth control, your acne is going to come back.
Yeah,
probably worse.
Yeah, probably. Well, I agree with that because too, you like we said, you Band-Aid over it, and then your body doesn't know how to deal with these hormones. Doesn't know what it like. You have to allow the body. Of course, you're gonna break out with acne. Of course, you're gonna have mood swings. Of course, you're gonna have horrible periods. Of course, you're gonna have all these symptoms because your body's carrying these hormones to carry, like, literally a fetus in the future too. And you're saying, no, I'm gonna have a pill. Little chemicals control that, and then you stop getting on the pill, or you stop doing, like, birth control in general, and your body doesn't know how to operate. So it's allow it to do its thing, like, allow it to have.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to allow it to have time to, like, settle in. But that being said, I wish I didn't go on the pill. I didn't have the worst symptoms as people have. I just keep yourself healthy.
I think, and this is, like, purely my opinion. So this is like my opinion. I think that it should be used purely for pregnancy prevention, and that's it. Because I do think that women have a right to a choice.
Yeah.
So if you want to go on the pill, if you want to be on birth control, essentially, I just hope that you have enough of the knowledge, but it's your choice at the end of the day. Like, and that's fine because I've been on it. I chose that knowing some of the repercussions. And even now, like, in the future, I mean, I'm single, so I don't need to be on birth control. But at some point, if I'm, like, with somebody and I don't want to get pregnant, there are, like, birth control methods that I might consider, even knowing, like, all the things that we'll kind of detail through. But I just think it's important that you don't use birth control to cover up, like,
acne.
issues that could be fixed through just
Blood
a
work.
healthy lifestyle, blood work, balancing your hormones, behavior, and like lifestyle change.
Honestly, yeah. And if you're dealing with these symptoms, get blood work, fix your hormones first, and then get on the pill.
Mm-hmm.
Like, get yourself in a healthy place before you, or get on birth control, like before you start something else, and that's going to allow you to have a better outcome when ending it.
Yeah, like having more information before you just throw something else on top of it. Yeah. So we could talk about like what birth control is. We kind of touched on it a little bit, but they are essentially hormonal birth control. It uses synthetic hormones, and what that does is it comes into your body. It's a synthetic form of estrogen or progesterone or a mixture of those two. Generally, that's what like the pill is, or an IUD, or the implant, and it'll secrete small levels of that into your body every month, or I'm pretty sure it's every month. And what those hormones do is they don't fix anything. Like that's what we've been saying. Like they're not going to fix your problems. They take over your system. So these exogenous synthetic hormones are hijacking your reproductive system and the communication that happens between your ovaries and your brain. So that communication is now essentially being controlled by your birth control. So when, let's say that you're on the pill, when you go onto that week that's like the placebo pills and it doesn't have any hormones, you get this like withdrawal bleed, but it's not an actual period. It's just your body responding to the fact that you're not putting any synthetic hormones in there. Your hormones have been downregulated, so they're not actually functioning. And that's kind of where some of the issues can arise when you're coming off of birth control. It's like you're driving a car and then you just take your hands off the wheel, like, and you're letting somebody else, like, let's say the birth control's your passenger, you're letting them drive, and then you kick the passenger out, you stop the birth control. Like, your car doesn't know where to go. Your body doesn't know how to function. Like, you don't remember how to drive because you've let them drive for so long. So giving yourself enough time and patience, and also realizing that coming off birth control is going to be a process. And some women, they can come off of it and they don't experience anything. Like, they're totally fine. And that's great. Most women come off and they have a lot of down the road consequences, whether it is your hormones, your mood, your skin, just the lack of vitamins and minerals. There's a lot, thyroid function. So there's a lot of like downstream consequences from being on birth control and then coming off of it. And I think that just being aware of that's really important.
No, honestly, that's what we're here to do, is just educate you. And I was going to mention this at the end, but one of the first books that ever really, really educated me was about the pill. That's my favorite. I think I have it still at my, look at it. Yeah. I suggest reading that as one of your first books you read about birth control, just because it's just education.
Yeah. It's, I don't know if I've read that. What's it called? About the Pill? I don't think I've read that.
Yeah.
I'll have to read that.
I thought I wrote the author down. Yeah, I'll put it on my story when this comes out. Let me see.
Oh, I've heard of it. It's Dr. Jolene Brighten.
Yeah. Let me make sure.
Actually, it's also on Audible, because I know that I was going to listen to it.
Man, on Audible, do they put, a little off topic, do they put the actual author?
Sometimes the author will narrate, and sometimes it's a random person.
I'm picky on that. Beyond the Pill.
Beyond the Pill. Yeah.
Beyond the Pill. Yeah. Jolene. Yeah. Great book. And then the Woman's Volume 1.
Yeah, the Woman's Book by Lyle McDonald. That one's awesome. Just in terms, it talks about birth control, but it's more so like fitness as well. So it talks about the importance of literally everything of being a woman in fitness. So he does have like a separate, I think I got it as an ebook, but he does have a separate like guide to birth control for athletes. But the women's book is everything about women, and like within fitness and nutrition, working out, your hormones, all that good stuff. So
there's a Volume 1 and Volume 2 as well. Obviously, start with Volume 1.
Start with Volume 1.
Yeah. Sometimes I used to do that. Start with the second one and be like, oh shoot, gotta go. Yeah. your experience with birth control on the IUD.
So, yeah, when I first got the IUD, it was the Mirena. So that's like one of the smallest ones. There's like Skylina, Mirena, something else. And I got one and I did not like it. So then I switched to the Skylina.
You know why you
which is
didn't
the
like
smallest
it? Do you
one.
remember?
It made me feel super sick. Like I feel like and also, yeah, I just think I had like really bad nausea. I don't think I gave it like a long enough time, but also like
I do remember having nausea.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like it just gives you like nausea and eventually that like goes away, but I was so over it. And so then I went to Skylina and I think mostly at this point, I just didn't want to have like the irregular periods. I've always had irregular periods. So I was trying to fix that, which you can't fix it with birth control, but you can have like a better sense of when your periods due, which is kind of what I wanted. Um, I had acne, I had bloating, I had like the worst part of birth control for me was the mental component.
Same.
Patience out the door. Like I had no patience. I was irritable, snappy. I would cry all the time. I'd go through like just swings. Like I still go through
Fast,
that. Like
yeah.
we talked about that previously. Like where like I think even on the last podcast. So the last podcast with Lexa, we talked about that. But the mood swings that you experience are common, but mine were like extreme because I would be fine one day and the next day the world was ending. Like every little thing set me off. I would be upset, mad, cry. I would take it out on whoever was near me. And I didn't realize that it was the birth control until I got off the birth control. And then I went through that repair phase and then like my boyfriend at the time and I were just like, oh, that was a birth control. Like,
Yeah.
like
Which
wow.
it does make you feel, it makes you feel better that it's not just you.
Yeah.
But it also makes you feel gross that it was a pill doing that to you. Or like an IUD.
Yeah.
Controlling, even like the body, understandable, but obviously the body and mind work together. And it's just kind of a different type of, ick almost, that something was controlling your mind.
Something extraneous was like influencing you so heavily. And there was a podcast I was listening to recently. Well, when we were recording this, because it's in my notes, but something that kind of almost freaked me out with birth control was that if you're young and you're on birth control for a long period of time, it can actually alter your brain structure. And the part of the brain that it alters has to do with anger and depression. So there's higher rates of young girls who get prescribed antidepressants who were prescribed birth control really young. And to me, that's just a little bit scary that if you don't know any better and you're on this pill or you have an IUD or whatever it is, these synthetic hormones, they're altering your brain structure.
Now I want to like have a test done to see if mine's altered.
Like get a brain scan or something.
Yeah. Can you see that in a brain scan? I wouldn't know.
You probably could, but
yeah.
if you don't have like an original brain scan. So I know that they do this with like Alzheimer's patients because like every year, if you have Alzheimer's, you lose about 4% of this like specific area. But there's been research that has shown that like the longer that you're on this birth control, you can alter it. I don't know if it's alter or shrink it by like 6%. So it does have like a big impact. But they also pointed out in the studies that it doesn't affect your cognitive abilities. It doesn't affect your intellect. So you can still function and perform super well. Not like Alzheimer's, but it does change it.
Yeah. But if you are happier, like you're going to want to perform at a higher rate. Like you're going to get more effort.
Yeah.
When you're sadder, you're like, you don't care. You want to be lazy. You know, that's just like when we're sad, we seek comfort. When you're happy, you're okay with discomfort because you know it. Yeah.
I know. It's a lot. We can run through. So I guess some of the negative side effects of birth control that we can just kind of run through with y'all. So it does severely impact and compromise your gut health. and it changes your microbiome. So it's not very friendly towards your microbiome, and not just your gut microbiome, but also like your mouth or your
vaginal areas.
All the microbiomes. It is not friendly. Like you have an increased risk of BV, yeast infections, UTIs, periodontist, cavities, and obviously like within the gut, it impacts the way that you're breaking down nutrients. So that has like a downstream effect as well. So if your gut microbiome is compromised, then it's likely that your glucose and insulin, like your body's ability to process those things and break down glucose effectively, is also impacted in a negative light. And we all know like your gut and your mental health are linked. So then that plays a part as well, because if you're having gut issues or if you're having gut dysbiosis caused by birth control, you're more likely to have like poor mental health as well.
Which, going back to like the antidepressants, I'd love to know, I'm sure like I'd love to see a study of out of like 50 or 100 people, 100 females, how the percentage of how many, out of 50 or 100 who are on antidepressants, what percent have been on birth control at a young age?
Yeah, that would be interesting. I bet that there's
definitely out there. Yeah.
There's studies out there that we could find, because that would be really interesting. I do think there's a link. And that's why also when you come off birth control, you're more likely to have like estrogen dominance and suffer with some of those issues, because your gut is responsible for processing and eliminating excess estrogen.
Yeah.
But if you have too much estrogen, it becomes inflammatory. And then that is why if you have estrogen dominance, it's likely linked to a gut issue. But you're going to experience more like fat storage in your lower body. You'll experience more heavy, painful, like crampy periods. You'll probably experience like anxiety. You might not have depression, but you'll get like the anxious recurring thoughts. That could also be due to estrogen dominance, which is originating from gut issues, which originated from birth control.
Okay.
So everything's kind of linked. Yeah.
So as you were saying this, oh my God, I want to share this is a very, very vulnerable story. Okay, but I'm not crying. There's like, but it is a very vulnerable story that I've never, ever told, ever. You don't even know this.
Yeah.
I don't think Justin knows this.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so I feel like, I hope this is appropriate to show or share. I'm not going to show anything.
Everyone's running to YouTube.
Yeah.
They said, wait a minute.
So when I was on birth control and I was dating we weren't even dating. We were on a situationship for a very long time. Yeah, toxic. There was a point where I was super depressive. So I started cutting my arms. But I know that was when I was on birth control. And of course, now that I'm older, like I would never harm myself in that way. I also know what self-love, like I've gone through it, like a lot of like journeys to be able to have. So I wouldn't say that it was only on the BC, but I do know the fact that it played such a huge role in my mood swings and depressive episodes. If like that is what took it to that next level of like self-harm. But I like that's something that you'll never know, but you'll just like think about,
like wonder about.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I know that's very vulnerable. And that is a good question, because it's hard to know what is linked, like cause and effect. And especially because you were so young.
Yeah, exactly. You know, there's a lot of changes going on, but
but could it have played a part? Like, it's a good
and
question.
I'm sure there's studies out there that study birth control and self-harm along with the depressive episodes to it, like leading to all of that.
Yeah. There's definitely, it's for sure been studied, and results have come out that birth control has been linked to that, like depression, anxiety, mood swings, extreme mood swings, and higher rates of being prescribed antidepressants. So it wouldn't be a stretch. Like it it might be like, yeah, that contributed in some way.
Well, I also am curious on, a little bit off topic, but with self-harm, I want to be able to, I'm going to spend like time reflecting on that because it's not something I think about often, but you have to get to a certain point because to do self-harm, and it's also, it's a different type of mental place in terms of you're not at a place where you're going to kill yourself, like suicide, like that's not and where I was, that wasn't like ever a thought. But you are at a place where you want to harm yourself, but that's a band-aid over a deeper and darker issue that's occurring. And so it's, I believe in my case, it was hurting myself because I was displeased. The band-aid was that I was displeased with myself, but in reality, it wasn't displeased with myself. I was displeased with a different situation.
Yeah. It's almost,
so you put the blame on yourself, even though you know it's not you. But even, so you almost, what's the word, like, scold? So you scold yourself. Like, what, does that make sense? Yeah.
Was it like a control, like a way to control, like an external thing? Or do you think it was more so just pointed at yourself because you were, like you said, like you were displeased with a situation or like something happening?
It was a way of, I loved feeling like I was digging myself in the deeper hole because I didn't want to be out of the hole. Because out of the hole means I didn't have the codependency with the guy that I was on and with, but his friends were like, it was a whole group. And so once he left, he graduated, it was like a year later. That's when I cut off all my relationships with everyone. And that's when my last year and a half of high school, I just didn't have any friends by choice. But then that was like the best mental place I've ever been at. Well, not now, like now.
Like at
that point, I was like, how is it that I'm the loneliest I've ever been at? Like I would eat, I think I told you, I'd eat outside every single day for lunch for a whole year. And like in the back of the school, behind a door where I knew no one would come out. Like no one would ever come out of here in this little corner. But that was the happiest I've ever been. Like I didn't want to, and it's just weird to think about, you know?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. A little bit off topic.
Yeah. No, that's cool though. I appreciate you sharing because I also do think it will help people listening like have that self-reflection.
Yeah.
Especially if it's been a long time since you've thought about those things. Because like you said, you don't think about it. Like it just popped up for you right now. So hopefully kind of kickstarts. It made me think about some things for sure too. So
yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that.
Of course.
That's very open.
Well, this episode like allowed me to go back in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think in the future you would ever consider birth control or you're completely off it?
I don't see a reason for me to. Yeah. even though being sexually active, it's not, I don't have a fear of being pregnant, but I also know in the future, like I do want to be pregnant. And I also know in the future, birth control could play a role in that. There's a process to get off. And I don't want to I don't want to like go through the process of filling my ovaries and then the mental mood swings. And then I just want to stay here. I'm happy. I'm healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I like that. Cool. When an athlete comes to you and tells you that they're coming off birth control, what do you tell them? Like, what are some things that you help them with?
Yeah. So it's really, well, first I want to know what symptoms they're already facing. Even with getting on, like I want to discuss what are you experiencing, because there might be things you're experiencing that I've never heard, like, you know, or like no one else on the roster has, like, you know.
Yeah.
So we'll take a deep dive into that. And it's honestly like a weekly assessment of seeing where you're at mentally, physically, like what changes, like period. If an athlete, the goal is to get their period back. chasteberry, whatever you want to call it. I usually use that if the athlete hasn't had a cycle in a certain amount of days, depending on, along with that too, if you're coming off birth control or even in a prep setting and you're going into an off season, you have your period and you are stressed out of your body about this cycle coming, you're not going to get it. Like you're not. When you are so stressed out about your cycle, it's not going to come.
Yeah.
We've seen it happen a million times. And it's like your stress in general plays a big part in getting your cycle. Just like if you are overtraining, you're probably not going to get your cycle because your body's stressed out.
Mm-hmm.
It cannot carry, it's not a good thing. So chasteberry, I want to call it. I really like adding that in. I'll add in some other supplements when I do that. It really depends on the athlete's already symptoms. Like if they have really bad acne, I know some of them want to do the different
Accutane.
acne. Yeah, just different stuff like that. Which your choice. I think there's some others that I've heard of. I have a girl in the UK who's doing, I don't remember the exact name, but she had really bad acne coming off birth control. So she did some acne different stuff for that, and now she's like not doing anything. But she's in a healthy place. But the chasteberry, we'll add that in, and I always see results with that.
Yeah.
Have you seen results with that?
Yeah, that's one of my go-tos as well. And if they're having like extremely terrible PMS symptoms, we add that in as well, because I just feel like it helps balance their estrogen. And normally if we're seeing like estrogen issues, that can kind of help bring it down to a more healthy place. Dang, something you said, I like had a thought and then I forgot. I think it was something to do with like one of my athletes. Yeah, we were in a cutting phase and she didn't get her period. And she was like, well, I took like 3 pregnancy tests. Like I'm definitely not pregnant.
Yeah.
And I could sense like a little bit of stress behind that. And I just told her, we've been in a cutting phase. Like I've been pushing you pretty hard. Your job's very demanding. You're a mom. There's a lot of stress happening here. And we've been losing weight. Like I've been seeing your progress, but maybe we got to a place within your body where that stress is just a little bit too high. And now your body's like, I don't want to support life, so I'm going to skip this period. And she had like some symptoms going into it. She was like, yeah, I noticed like I was a little bit more tired. Like I had a little bit of a headache, but I never actually got my bleed. So she was like more worried about that. And I just told her, okay, let's take like 3 days off from everything. Like you could take your 8K steps in a day if you need that mental release of movement. But if you just want to lay around, if you can do that, like just relax and don't think about it. Just spend time with your daughter, like do whatever. And so we did that. And she felt a lot better, but she still didn't get her period. So I was like, you know what? We might have just missed this one. Like we might just have skipped this week. I don't want to keep forcing you to like rest, because she was just like, okay, I want to get back to the gym. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to like pull back on other things. So like pull back on the cardio, pull back on steps. We're going to do like 3 RIR training 3 times a week. Like just like pull all the stressors back. And I'm pretty confident this month she'll probably get it back. But it's like it ties in with what you're saying, is like if you're psychologically stressing yourself out and you're like, I have to get my period back, you're not going to get it, because that psychological stress is like putting your body into a state where it's like, yeah, no, we're not gonna do that.
No, yeah, exactly. Just like calm, collective. And even with prep things, like I think most athletes lose their period early on, not because you're in a deficit, but just because you're very stressed. Like whether you want to admit it or not, like you're stressed.
Yeah.
And I know most of us in general population are more stressed than we allow ourselves to believe we are, just because, dude, this life, like amazing, but I get stressed even if I'm going out on a Friday night and I'm like, shoot, I'm so excited that I'm stressed. Like I'll feel my body like, and it's like, dude, you're literally just going one place.
Yeah. I saw a reel the other day that was so funny, because it was like me trying to convince my body that this email is not a lion trying to attack me. Because you know how like if you're working like way back when our ancestors, like they would get stressed if there's like a predator around. Now that like we live in a civilized society, it was just like, I resonated with that so heavily because sometimes I'd be getting emails or messages where I'm just like, the stress.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But I have to like deep breathe and be like, nope.
Not today, Satan.
It's no big deal. It's all good. I think just having that reminder is important.
Mm-hmm. Cool, calm, collective.
Yes. Well, I think we touched on a lot. Like, I feel like we did talk about birth control and our hormones and a lot of the side effects here. But also, I just want to say again, if you're on birth control, we're not shaming you, judging you. There's no negativity there. It's your choice. Just be aware when it's time or whenever you do choose to come off birth control, there's some things you can do to help your body with that transition, whether that is the stress management, certain supplements like chaseberry. You're likely going to want to get blood work done 6 weeks post like removing the birth control so that you can see what is downregulated or what has been affected, because it could be your cortisol, it could be your glucose, it could be your insulin, it could be your hormones, your thyroid. There's a lot that could be affected. So it's better to test that, get some data, and then you can work with a professional or one of us, because we've done it so many times, in helping to restore optimal hormonal function for you. Mm-hmm. Also, you should be eating in a surplus. It doesn't have to be a big surplus, but a slight surplus, plenty of healthy fats, so that you can support your body in that way as well. It's not a good idea to pull birth control like mid-prep or right after prep.
Hell no.
Yeah.
Definitely not. And if your coach says, okay, run.
Not a good idea.
Yeah. I'm talking run fast.
Yeah. Well, because I've heard, so I think there's like a myth, especially within bodybuilding, that birth control somehow is going to prevent you from getting stage lean. I just want to say that's not true. I was on birth control my first 3 shows. I got pretty stage lean, but I was very shredded every time. So it doesn't prevent you from that, but it can sometimes affect your muscle protein synthesis, like your muscle building abilities. And I think that there's like a myth that like, oh, if you're on birth control, you can't get lean enough or you won't have enough muscle. And while those things could be true in some scenarios, it's not a big enough effect for you to pull it during prep.
Well, definitely don't pull it during prep. But a lot of people start birth control and gain weight. And it could like affect you in a way that's harder to lose weight. You still can get stage lean. It might just be a lot harder to do so. And this is very dependent, like, on the person. But those are just things to be aware. And honestly, if you are on a birth control, starting birth control, you already know based off how your body's feedback was during that time of starting. Yeah. If you gained a lot of weight, I don't know anyone that loses weight on birth control. But like you'll know in a prep kind of like what you're going to have to deal with.
Yeah. That's a good point.
But any questions you have, hit us in the DMs and we got you.
Yeah. I have a little like guide. If anyone needs, just DM me. I'm happy to send it over to you. But it's like how to support your body coming off of birth control. There's also a lot of resources. Like we touched on them, the books. There's podcasts. Jolene Brighton, I'm pretty sure she has either a YouTube or a podcast because I've looked her up before. But there's a lot of information out there. So don't be afraid to dive deep and be informed. But hopefully this gave you guys a little bit more information and you walk away feeling informed and at least educated a little bit on the processes and what you can expect with or without birth control. Any questions? Let us know.
We got your back.
Yeah.
And your body. Back and body.
Oh, I love that. We got your back and your body. And we will catch you guys on the next one.
Olives.
Peace.